what is it we're trying to achieve with BEE? We are trying to build a society that's more inclusive. In other words, one day, somewhere in the future, we want to look at South Africa and go, the demographic representation of all South Africans is what we see everywhere,
yes,
particularly in the economy. And of course, with our past and our political history, black people have been left out of participating effectively in the economy. So that's what we're trying to correct. And you can't do that if you can't measure or at least influence
yes,
who is in control, who is running the business, who is making the executive decision. So a couple of things. Number one, surprisingly, in the smaller companies, because we've also split the study between large, medium, and small businesses. So the smaller the businesses, seemingly the easier it is actually to get more and more black people and more women into executive management, which makes sense, I guess.
I would have thought it was the opposite. Sorry to jump in there, but
Sure.
that smaller businesses may often, for example, have a family tradition more complex. But you're saying it's the opposite.
Yes,
That's fascinating.
Yes, absolutely. It is that there are family traditions, but because of the sheer size of them and the
Yes.
ability to make quick decisions,
Okay.
it is easier to implement, right?
Right.
So we're finding that in the smaller and medium-sized businesses, the ease of implementation is definitely there. Where the real trouble sits is in the bigger companies, particularly the listed companies. So, for example, listed companies scored the lowest of all the types of businesses, whether privately owned or SOEs. And naturally, and I guess to be expected, SOEs scored quite highly because government tends to insist on diversity for the executives, whether it's CEO, CFO, chairman, etc. But in the listed companies where ownership isn't that easy to do, but eventually it gets done, the percentages are not high, but they eventually get done. So most big listed companies have done A, B, D on ownership. But typically what you find is that not just only the CEO, not just only the CFO, but the executive of most of South Africa's largest companies
Right.
tend to be white and tend to be male.
News,
Experts.
analysis,
Where things stand
what you need to know. Drive home with John Perlman.
on 702.